So, Travis, I was thinking about websites for lawyers. And when I think about that, the classic image that comes to mind is someone standing, in front of a big bookcase of leather-bound books in this power pose. And I think that probably comes from uh, like an old trope in legal marketing where you have to make yourself look like an authority figure. But do you really think that's the best way of reaching clients in 2026?
I love it. And I love picking on attorneys. My wife's an attorney, my best friend's an attorney. And so I'm going to do the pose for you so you remember what it is. And it's this.
Love it.
Yeah. And so what they do is I think they feel like they need to project power and they need to project authority. And what they're actually doing for the people who are trying to solve a problem. And usually people who are trying to go to an attorney are trying to solve a specific problem in their life, either for a loved one or themselves. And it might be an uncomfortable place. And that authority and that power projection only works for your competition, unfortunately. And it's not working for the people who need to hire you. What they're looking for is somebody who won't judge them, ultimately. They want to go to somebody with their hat in hand and they're going to sit across a table, a very nice conference room table in a very fancy law firm, and they're going to have to spill their guts and explain what happened in their life. And it could be something mundane as a tax issue or a probate issue or something like that, or it could be something horrible, accidental death or something like that. And so it's always a funny thing to me whenever attorneys, they present themselves as perfect, infallible people who've never made a problem in their or had a problem in their life. That's totally the wrong thing to do. And what you want to do is actually show the customer's point of view. And so the idea is when you go to a website, you're there to solve a problem. What you're looking for is a mirror of yourself. And that's sort of what we do with the attorneys we work with. We make sure we're communicating to their customer base, their ideal customer base. The whole focus should be on them. It should be on the problem that they're currently dealing with. We've had a lot of people who push back against that, and they say, I don't want to be negative. I've heard that in the marketing world, we can't be negative. We can't say can't, and we can't do this, can't do that. It's not that at all. It's just showing the reality that your customer is currently going through.
Reality, yeah. And the last thing that, if you're looking for a lawyer, you're probably in a tough spot in your life. And the last thing you want to see is someone who's done everything by the book and has all their ducks in a row.
100%. Yeah, it's uh, lawyers are less than 1% of the population, but yet they have the majority of TV shows and stuff. And so a lot of people, it's really funny when I'm talking with my lawyer clients, I bring up the fact that people dress up for you as if they're going to church or something. They really put you on a pedestal and they see you in this higher regard. It's amazing when you present yourself as just a normal human that understands where they're going through and you can sympathize with the problems that they have, how quickly they can build bonds of trust with you and understand that you're the right person for them. There's an example I'd like to think of where there was an attorney who came to me and she was doing 4 different services, everything from real estate to wills, estates, and trusts. And we were kind of chatting through our strategy session that we call the customer roadmap session. And she, maybe an hour and a half in, made a joke that you can kind of consider me the death attorney. And I thought that was awesome. She immediately said, oh, but you can't use that. And I said, oh, I definitely want to use that because that's going to connect so well with people. And so what we did, and I'm going to show you right here, is we actually built her site around that idea of grief. because people who have just lost a loved one, that was the trigger, that was the catalyst that forced people into action, and they would go to Google and they would look to solve this problem. So they come to the site, and we're not saying she does everything from real estate to this to that. We're saying grief is hard enough. We're presenting the problem right here. And then right after that, we present the philosophy, which is create an estate plan that is full of love without hassle. That's the whole thing. And the philosophy is kind of a funny thing. It needs to be true both to the attorney in this case, but also to the customer. Both need to view that as a statement of truth. And as long as we can present that clearly enough, we'll win what we call the 3-second battle. The idea is that in my industry, I get an average of 3 seconds. That's our elevator pitch. That's how long people are going to spend on a website on average. And if we don't convince somebody that they're in the right place within that amount of time, we've lost them and they're going to go somewhere else. So this is a great example of what we did. We didn't remove all those other services. We have them down here still. But this is her moneymaker. This is the big service she provides. And so we really leaned into that and made sure that worked.
Yeah, I guess it's the same as if you're looking for a wedding photographer and went to a photographer's website and they have, all of their example images of sports photography and concert photography. You'd wonder if you were in the right place.
Yep.
But yeah, and still including the keywords here means that, Google and stuff will pick up on these other services she offers, but she's really presenting a story to the client here.
Absolutely.
It's really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the photographer example you brought up. I love picking on photographers too, because I'm a photographer myself, but the biggest problem I see all photographers do is they want to put up everything. It's like as soon as you buy that camera, you immediately see all the possibilities. You can see yourself doing landscape stuff, street photography, portraits, everything. And so you're really kind of confusing everybody when you put all of those images up. Where if you were to just focus in on one thing, when that person is searching to solve that one problem, they're not looking for somebody that does everything. And they're not looking for a hero. That's another big thing. And that's kind of going back to the problem with the attorneys with their arms crossed, is they're presenting themselves as the hero, not as a guide. And that's what people are looking for. It's better to think of people as the hero in their own journey. And by the way, this isn't my original thought. This all comes from an author, Donald Miller. He created this concept called building a story brand. It's a 7-part framework. And it's incredibly powerful on learning how to communicate to your ideal customer. If you follow that 7-part framework, you're going to realize that really quickly that you've been presenting yourself all wrong. You're not the hero, your customer is. And it allows you to focus in on exactly what they're looking for in order to solve. Because there was a catalyst in their life that just happened that has forced them into action. And they're going to first ask themselves, do I have the ability to solve this problem? If the answer is no, then they go to the next level and they say, do I know somebody who can solve this problem? And that's where, networks come in, word of mouth networks, friends, family, colleagues, whatever. But if that fails, then they go to Google or these days AI, and they're going to search who is the best person to help me with this problem. If it's water on the floor, you need a plumber. If somebody's in jail, you need a lawyer. If your kids need a headshot, you're gonna hire a photographer. And so people are looking to solve specific problems. They don't want a hero, and they also need everything presented very clearly and precisely to exactly what they've been searching for to begin with.
Yeah, and just thinking about this, like from a client's perspective, I recently lost my mother, and so I had to search for a lawyer to do probate and all that stuff. And I had never had an experience with a lawyer in my life, so I didn't know what I was looking for. And all I found were these, big, tough-looking people that are the last person I want to talk to at this point in my life. But if I had found this website, grief is hard enough, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, so. It connects on a deeper level, and I'm sorry to hear that, but Yeah, this message is exactly where we want to be. And you'll notice that we don't have a photo of the attorney here. We have a photo of hands being held. It's a very gentle photo. It's a comforting photo.
Yeah.
And we have this message: grief is hard enough, because that's exactly where her client base is at that moment. And that's the message that we put in there.
Yeah, it's very effective. So if I'm a lawyer and my current website looks like this trope that we've been talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no idea how to go about fixing it, what do you suggest?
Man, I would. So we offer a website assessment, and this started years ago. My business partner Franklin and myself would go through people's websites because they'd be interested in doing a click ad campaign using Google, or hiring us for SEO or something like that. And we would go through that entire website and look at all the different things that were what we kind of call these days customer leaks or client leaks. The idea is that people land on the website and you're offering exit doors, kind of like a social media in your header. You're offering people a dopamine hit rather than solving their problem right there and right away. Or you're not offering any way for them to communicate with you. So we created this assessment, and there's 93 points inside there where we cover every single thing. And we're looking at the code inside the website, and this is what Google is looking at to determine if you're an authority that it can trust to send customers to. Google is a problem solver, and so Google's looking for those types of authorities that they can send people to whenever they're searching to solve a problem. Then we look at the front end. When Google brings a person to the website, is that person being communicated to effectively? And then finally, we look at your overall footprint of what you're doing on the internet. Where are you showing up? Do you have authority with different search engines and AI these days? That's a big thing. And so we've created this assessment. There's 93 points in it that we go through, and we end up with 3 massive reports that kind of go through every single issue you have. And it's good. Even we do a lot of these assessments for companies that have a website and they don't intend on building a new website. They just want to see where they stand. And it's really helpful because we'll kind of point out and find the little issues here and there that they can fix. There's an HVAC company I felt really bad for the HVAC company because I did a one-to-one meeting with him, and he just wanted me to look through his website really quick. And there were so many issues in there, and the issues were caused by what I like to call well-meaning website designers. I used to be one of those. I went through school and I was taught how to build websites, but I wasn't taught how Google wants to look at those websites. And there's something in there called an H1 tag. And it's a very basic thing now that I understand and know, but that H1 tag is sort of like the book cover for your overall website. And you get one H1 tag per page. But the H1 tag that's on your homepage is the most important H1 tag. So going back to this website, you'll notice here that our H1 is this whole piece here. I always like to bake in a bunch of information with the H1 tag. It should describe the keyword that people are looking for, estate planning attorney in this case, and then serving Northern Nevada, Lake Tahoe, Reno, and Sparks, Nevada. That allows Google to understand where the scope of your authority is, and then also your keyword authority, which is whose problem you are attempting to solve. The more precise you are with that, the better. And that's our overall goal always.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that a website assessment would be really helpful too, even if you think that your website is up to par, just because technology is changing so often, and how AI is scanning your website might be different than it was a year ago when you built your website. I think it's really interesting.
It is. It's a fast changing world, and one of our strategies to combat AI is we're actually developing more pages behind the website. But a typical plumber website used to be able to get by with 5 pages, and then we would do a blog, and that would be enough to build authority with Google. What we've been noticing lately with AI now is that if we create full pages, that gives us another ability to put in another H1 tag. So we can have another keyword plus another location keyword in there too. An example of that would be
All right.
oh yeah, it's like my partner came up with it, so I can't claim it as my idea. But the idea is that if you had an automotive shop and their problem, and this happened, we had a client, SAS Auto. Their issue was they had the wrong types of clients showing up to their website. Were showing up as Chevys, Fords, Dodges. They only serve these automotive brands: Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Mini. The European brands, and they were not being specific. And so what we started doing was we started following where the manufacturers are, and we created individual pages that all focused on every single one of those brands. So that way, when somebody's Googling Audi repair or BMW repair, their website shows up at the top. And it allows them to essentially have a bigger net with Google, so that way they kind of show up everywhere.
Right. Yeah. I never would have thought about doing that, but that's seems really like almost like you're tricking the system, but you're just playing by the new rules, I guess.
That's so true. Yeah, it is. It sometimes it does kind of feel like we're gaining the system a little bit, but Google as an algorithm is really good at catching you if you try to do that. So back in the day, people used to keyword pack the website, which meant that they would just put in every single keyword possible. But Google's caught on to that because they do realize that human beings need to go to this website at some point. And if you're just putting up a page full of keywords, you're not actually serving anybody.
So I couldn't actually make my whole homepage just full of H1 tags.
Exactly. Oh, and that, I don't know if I made that point clear enough, is with an H1 tag, you can only have one. So yeah, really good point, because that's what I would discover a lot of times, especially with that HVAC company, is the well-meaning website designer would go through and they would use H1 tags as a element for a design, meaning they would add the H1 tag and they used it as a scale of size for that text. So
right,
yeah. So they didn't just have H1 tags for welcome. They had H1 tags for contact us, and they had H1 tags for 1,000, and they had H1 tags for this and that. And so Google has no idea who they serve and what they serve. And so I just told them those few little tips, those tiny things. And the last 2 times I've talked to him, he's like, we're finally getting phone calls from our website. The neat thing about that is we didn't even do his website, but those tiny changes that he went back to his original website designer for, and they probably shook their head and they're like, this is crazy. Those tiny things actually work. And Google finally understands what they do now. And now they're showing up when people are searching to solve a problem.
Right, interesting. Well, this is very informative. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. And I'm looking forward to the next time we record one of these videos.
Me too. Cheers.
Cheers. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks.
You too.